December 16, 1985. Midtown Manhattan. The sidewalk outside Sparks Steakhouse is slick with freezing rain. Within seconds, the hierarchy of the American Mafia is decapitated. Paul Castellano, the Pope of the Gambino family, lies dead in the slush. Watching from a car nearby, a man with cold, calculating eyes knows his life has just changed forever. His name is Frank DeCicco. 4 months later, April 13, 1986, DeCicco walks toward his Buick Electra parked outside a social club in Diker Heights. He is now the underboss, the bridge between the old guard and John Gotti's new, loud era. He reaches for the door handle. He doesn't hear the click of the remote detonator. He doesn't see the Genovese hitman watching from the shadows. The explosion doesn't just vaporize the car. It shatters the unwritten law that protected Mafia royalty from bombs. In the smoke, the golden age of the commission dies with him. This wasn't a hit. It was a message written in fire. Frank DeCicco wasn't a street thud. He was Mafia royalty. The son of a Gambino soldier, Frank was groomed for the life in the social clubs of Bath Beach. He was a man's man, discreet, highly intelligent, and universally respected. While John Gotti sought the spotlight, DeCicco was the shadow, the quiet architect of internal stability who understood that real power never needs to raise its voice. DeCicco climbed the ladder by mastering the art of the middleman. He wasn't just a soldier, he was the Gambino family's logistics expert, controlling lucrative construction rackets and labor unions. His influence bridged the gap between the street-level earners and the white-collar administration. By the early 1980s, he had become the essential confidant to both the traditionalists and the Young Turks, making him the most dangerous man in any room. The quiet stability shattered when Paul Castellano, the Pope of the family, became increasingly detached, prioritizing his suburban mansion over the soldiers in the trenches. Discontent turned to conspiracy. Gotti needed a tactician to sanction the coup, and DeCicco, sensing the inevitable shift in the winds of power, chose the side of the street over the ivory tower. The hit on Castellano was more than a murder. It was a violation of the Commission's supreme law. By bypassing the sit-down and killing a boss without permission, DeCicco and Gotti declared war on the five-family hierarchy. The Genovese and Lucchese families viewed this as a political contagion that had to be cauterized. To the old-world bosses, DeCicco was now a traitor to the very structure that kept them all safe from the feds. The Genovese family, led by the oddfather Vincent Gigante, didn't want a war. They wanted an example. They turned to the shadows, recruiting Lucchese underboss Anthony Gaspipe Casso to orchestrate a surgical strike. DeCicco, now Gotti's right hand, became the primary target not because he was the loudest, but because he was the brain. By removing Frank, the conspirators knew Gotti's regime would be headless, impulsive, and ultimately doomed. April 13, 1986. The bomb-shaped charge of C4 and TNT is hidden beneath DeCicco's Buick. As Frank opens the door outside the Veterans and Friends social club, the device is detonated. The blast is so powerful it lifts the vehicle, shredding metal and bone. DeCicco is killed instantly. His body is literally torn apart. The message is delivered with terrifying clarity. No one, not even an underboss, is untouchable in the age of the remote control. The smoke from DeCicco's Buick signaled the end of the Mafia's golden age. In his rage, John Gotti accelerated his public profile, inviting the very FBI scrutiny DeCicco had always cautioned against. Without Frank's stabilizing influence and diplomatic tact, the Gambino family devolved into a cult of personality. The Genovese family's message was clear: the old rules were dead, replaced by a cold, mechanical era of high explosives and total betrayal. The smoke over Diker Heights eventually cleared, but the foundation of the American Mafia was permanently cracked. Frank DeCicco lived by the code of silence and died by the roar of plastic explosives, a brutal irony for a man who valued discretion above all else. His end proves that in the world of organized crime, loyalty is a currency that devalues the moment power shifts. DeCicco didn't just lose his life. He was the last of the thinking mobsters, a relic of a structured underworld destroyed by its own ambition. When the car ignited, it wasn't just a man who turned. To ash it was the illusion that there was ever honor among thieves.